We live in a world that's just buzzing with stress, right? And what if the answer wasn't some new app, but an ancient herb? Today, we're diving into ashwagandha. It's been a huge deal in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries, and now modern science is finally catching up. So let's see what the research really has to say.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with what makes this herb so special in the first place. Then we'll look at how it affects our minds and then our bodies. And finally, we're going to zoom all the way into the cellular level to really get the full picture. It's going to be a fun ride. Okay, so what is the big deal with ashwagandha? I mean, why is everyone suddenly talking about it? Well, to get that, we first have to understand this really cool category of plants it belongs to, adaptogens.
Adaptogen. Sounds kind of sciencey, right? But the idea is actually super simple. Think of an adaptogen like a smart thermostat for your body. You know how a thermostat doesn't just blast hot or cold air? It senses the room's temperature and gently brings it back to that perfect, comfortable spot. That's what an adaptogen does for your body, especially when you're stressed out. It's all about helping you find that balance, that equilibrium.
Okay, so now that you've got that concept of a body temperature thermostat in your head, let's jump into the area where ashwagandha has made its biggest waves, its impact on our mental well-being. Yeah, this is ashwagandha's claim to fame, for sure. I mean, in our non-stop, always-on world, who isn't feeling stressed? Its ability to help your body handle that chronic pressure and just take the edge off anxiety, that's the number one reason so many people are reaching for it.
And listen, this isn't just word of mouth. We're talking about actual clinical studies here, and they've pinpointed a specific daily dosage, somewhere in that 300 to 600 milligram range, that seems to be the sweet spot for a noticeable reduction in stress.
So how in the world does it do that? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is a hormone called cortisol. You've probably heard of it. It's the stress hormone. When you're constantly frazzled, your cortisol levels can get stuck in the on position, and that leads to all sorts of problems, like bad sleep and that awful brain fog. What ashwagandha seems to do is help dial those levels back down, kind of guiding your body back to a calmer state. And hey, it's no surprise that when you're less stressed, you sleep better, right? It just makes sense. And this is another area where ashwagandha really seems to shine, acting as a natural helping hand for anyone who's just struggling to get some decent restorative rest.
So how does it work for sleep? Well, the science points to these specific active compounds inside the plant. There's one called triethylene glycol. Yeah, I know, big word. But it's just a natural substance that's been shown to help promote sleep. So it's not just about calming your racing mind. It's also about actively helping your body hit those deep, restorative sleep cycles that we all need to function.
But wait, there's more. The benefits for your mind don't just stop with mood and sleep. What's really fascinating is that the research also suggests ashwagandha can actually give your brain a bit of a boost, helping to sharpen things like memory and focus. And it seems to do this with a kind of 1-2 punch. First, it has these compounds that are neuroprotective, meaning they literally help protect your brain cells from damage. And second, it helps fight back against two of the biggest enemies of long-term brain health, oxidative stress and inflammation. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so we've seen how ashwagandha can be a real game changer for balancing the mind. But what about the rest of us, the body? How do all these cool effects translate to our physical health and performance? Let's find out.
All right, first up, it can actually make you physically stronger. No joke. There's a growing pile of research that connects taking ashwagandha with real, measurable improvements in things like muscle strength, endurance, and your overall athletic game. So here's the breakdown of how it works. First, when you work out hard, your body creates oxidative stress. Ashwagandha helps reduce that. Second, it seems to improve how your cells actually use energy, your metabolism. And third, you put those two things together, and what do you get? You get faster muscle recovery after you hit the gym. The research also points to some interesting benefits for reproductive health, specifically with studies showing it can improve some key markers for male fertility. To be specific, the research has shown it can help boost sperm quality, and in some studies, it's also been linked to an increase in testosterone levels, so it's emerging as a natural option for supporting male reproductive health. And finally, for the body, let's talk metabolic health. Ashwagandha might also play a role here. It's been shown to help regulate blood sugar levels, which is super important for anyone trying to maintain a healthy glucose metabolism and overall energy balance. All right, we've covered the mind, we've covered the body. Now let's zoom in even closer. Let's get out the microscope and see how ashwagandha works at the cellular level, acting like a tiny shield for our cells. This table gives us a fantastic snapshot of its protective powers. First, as an antioxidant, it basically amps up your body's own defense system against cellular damage. Then, as an anti-inflammatory, it helps lower those markers that are linked to chronic inflammation. And then there's this last one. Some really early research suggests a compound in it, called with ferrin A, might even mess with cancer cell pathways.
Okay, that last point about anti-cancer properties, that's obviously a huge claim, so we need to talk about it carefully. The specific compound with the ferrin A is getting a lot of attention from researchers because of its potential to disrupt how cancer cells communicate. But, and this is a big but, we have to put this in context.
And that context is absolutely crucial. As the scientists themselves say, and I'm quoting here, further wide-scale clinical trials are required to fully and strongly confirm these effects. So what does that mean? It means this is an area of really exciting potential, but it is absolutely not a proven treatment. We're still in the early days here. So, after this whole journey, from our minds to our bodies, down to our very cells, what's the big takeaway? Well, this is where that ancient wisdom we talked about really shakes hands with modern science. You know, the real magic of ashwagandha seems to be that it doesn't just fix one single problem. It takes a holistic approach. It supports interconnected systems. Think about it. It helps reduce the mental stress that can lead to physical inflammation, and that in turn helps protect your cells on a deep, fundamental level. It's really a powerful example of how one single plant can support our well-being from top to bottom. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on, doesn't it? As modern science keeps unlocking and validating the secrets of these ancient traditions, it just makes you wonder, what other powerful natural wisdom is out there, just waiting for us to rediscover it?